We know a little bit more about Tennessee's two deep receiver rotation after the first scrimmage. So, Caleb Calhoun, what do we know? Because other than Bru McCoy, there's not a player who's going to be held out an extended amount of time or a significant amount of time because of injuries. We're going to talk about running backs. That's not the situation there. We're going to talk about offensive line. Well, there's nothing wrong with resting Cooper Mays a little bit more than you might. But at receiver, other than Bru McCoy, there are no extenuating circumstances such as injury or a proven player to affect the amount of snaps that given player gets. Therefore, I think we can project Tennessee's two deep in the wide receiver group pretty accurately, even though we're just talking about mid-August. What do you think?
Oh, I think we can project the two deep. I actually think we can project the main wideout and the slot guy. It's who's going to start for that other number two wideout spot. That's the question. So do we want to just run down the list real quick of what we can project?
Yes. So Bru McCoy's the lock, even though he might have been limited in the scrimmage on Friday. So he's the lock, right? If they're holding him out not because of his play, but because he had that horrific injury. So that would be the lock, right?
Yeah, Bru McCoy is absolutely the lock, 100%.
Okay.
After Bru McCoy, I think Squirrel White is the person who will line up in the slot for Tennessee. Squirrel White will be the main slot guy. I think Braylon Staley might back him up. Dante Thornton could move over there, but by and large, I think that's how you're going to look at it. The question becomes the number two wideout spot. And I think there is a fight between Mike Matthews, Bru McCoy, and Chris Brazzell for that. I made a prediction that Mike Matthews was so good that he would actually take the spot midway through the year, the way you thought Bru Carter would, even though you think Bru Carter will just now start at safety. I thought Mike Matthews was going to be that good. But I've been reading through practices that it sounds like Chris Brazzell's the real deal, the Tulane transfer at receiver.
Well, I think Brazzell is the real deal. So I'm going to say McCoy, Brazzell, and Squirrel White in some shape, form, or fashion. Now, I know that kind of flies in the face of what we believed earlier, that Brazzell would play slot, and we all think White would play slot. I think they're going to find a way to make it work. I think you're going to see an evolution of this offense where they play a little bit more four wide, and I think you're going to see that Tennessee has the receivers to be able to do that. Now, you talk about the second string, who are the second group of guys. And you're right, there could be situations where you play a guy who's not quite as good because he's a better fit at slot than wide out, and I get that. And obviously the guy that we would be talking about is Dante Thornton, as they continually find a place for him. Is he your slot guy? Is he your outside guy? I think he's your outside guy based off body type, but they've certainly tried to force him in at slot. Caleb, how important is figuring out what Dante Thornton does well? Portions of the program brought to you by Don Self at State Farm. Customer service matters when you're trying to get that claim, not just prices on the front end. For over 40 years, Don Self at State Farm has been in the greater Chattanooga area. Call 423-396-2126 or go to donself.net, donself.net. How key is Dante Thornton to determining he's kind of the crossroad player? If he ends up being a great wideout, then you adjust things a little bit, and maybe you team him up with Bru McCoy. If he ends up being a great slot receiver, maybe you slide Brazzell or White outside. White doesn't feel like a wideout to me. He feels like a slot. Brazzell feels like he has a little bit more flexibility. But Dante Thornton is really the key as far as the two deep and the path that this group of receivers takes throughout the season.
Yeah, and we have no idea what we're going to get, what they're going to get in Dante Thornton, what we're going to see from him because of the injuries from last year.
And the inconsistency and putting too much pressure on himself. You're right. I hate the word X factor because we use it too much, but he is an X factor at wide receiver. Does he come in with the best attitude ever or the same attitude that he had last year?
Yeah, and maybe you want some of the attitude he had last year, because based on what you told me, it sounds like he was at least trying his, he was trying really hard. No, he did seem like he was actually committed to trying to be the best receiver he could. He just put a little more pressure on himself than he should have. Dante Thornton will determine if they go 3 or 4 wide. I don't think they're going to play Matthews and Brazel together. If what we're saying is true, Matthews is the odd man out this year as a freshman. Do you think that's the case, or do you think they're going to have, or do you think Mike Matthews is so good they're going to have to put him on the field at some point?
I think I'm the opposite from you. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I think being a freshman in this group that's so deep means you're probably not going to play no matter how good you are. I think Randy Moss could show up and have trouble getting on the field with this group.
Dan, you were so stuck in the 90s. You're such a 90s guy. Oh, he's a freshman, and you can't play the freshman. They need to develop in the system. Yes. Okay.
I don't think this is an easy offense to learn for a receiver. And I think
it's harder for a receiver than it is for a quarterback.
Your quarterback look stupid really quick. And I don't think they want to make Nico look stupid. I think that's incredibly important. What do you think of Matthews? Is he a bona fide starter, or is he a bona fide contributor? What is he, if you had to predict?
I think by the middle of the year, he's a bona fide starter. I think he's that good. I think he's that rare talent. I think Chris Brazel's hands, though. Here's what I will say. He's not going to supplant Bru McCoy. It's Bru McCoy's last year. Heupel's going to want to, even if he were better, Heupel would make Bru McCoy the go-to guy all year. The only thing I will say is, even though I think Matthews is better, I think Brazel does have better hands. I think Chris Brazel has the best hands of anybody in this group, honestly. And I think you want your complimentary wideout to be a hands guy, don't you? More than anything else?
I would think so.
So I think that's what they're going to use him for. They want Brazel to be the hands guy on the other side. They want Bru McCoy to be the dictate coverage, go-to wideout. And then they want Squirrel White to be Jalen Hyatt.
I think they want Squirrel White to be Jalen Hyatt, and I think he's a freaky good athlete. I just don't know that he has the top-end speed to do that. And let's face it, the top-end speed is what made Jalen Hyatt, what made the slot receiver position, and what made this offense in 2022. Is it not?
Yeah, but you don't think Squirrel White's as fast as Jalen Hyatt?
I don't know that he has top-end. But we'll see. I mean, I think he has better quicks, and I think there's a lot of things he can do in that is almost equally as beneficial. I just think Jalen Hyatt had some pretty special top-end speed that we've overlooked to some extent.